So with my first baby, I had an OB. Care was fine because my mom was a labor and delivery nurse, so she was connected with them, saw them at her workplace. So very thankful for that. I feel like I would have had a different style of care being a young mom if I didn't have her a part of it. I was, yeah, so prenatally, only thing really to note was 5-minute appointments. In and out, didn't really have a relationship at all with the OB, but felt like I was being watched carefully, so I felt safe. But yeah, no relationship. Didn't know much about her at all, or me, her about me. So I was induced at 39 weeks. Thankfully, I was actually in labor by the time the induction came. I was a few centimeters dilated when I got there, having contractions. They started Pitocin at 8 a.m., and my baby was born at 3. So 5-hour labor for a first baby is pretty quick. So I was disappointed that like my entire labor is laying in a bed and having a machine give me contractions, and I couldn't tell you what a contraction felt like because the spinal epidural I had took away all the contractions. I had my water broken, or my baby's bag of water broken, and when they broke it, they screwed in the heart rate monitor into his head, so it's a little screw about this big, but we're talking about a tiny little baby head too, so that's kind of significant when you really think about it, and for no reason. His heart rate was fine. I would have remembered if it wasn't. But yeah, I don't know if that was just that OB's style, and that's what she did. So labor went smooth. Obviously, it was so quick, so can't really have too many things really go wrong whenever there's that quick of a labor. Pushing was even, I pushed for a total of 30 minutes, but I remember laying there feeling like I need to hurry because they all have somewhere to be. And so nobody told me that, but I don't know if I just got that impression by the style of pushing. So when they're like, okay, now you're having a contraction and hold your breath, count to 10, or we'll count to 10 while you push for 10 seconds and then take a breath and then do it again and then take a breath and then do it again, like, wow, that's a lot. And then like when I wasn't pushing effectively enough for them, then it was, let's try, you pull tug of war, let's try, which I'm not saying it's wrong to try different pushing positions. Trust me, I'm an advocate of different pushing positions, but whenever the total pushing time is 30 minutes, like that's a little much, especially for a first time mom. So yeah, I think I might have got the impression from the style of that. And oh Lord, the soapy Perry bottle and the massage that I was given on my vulva around the baby's head was one that was notable for discomfort. I was like, if she freaking squirts that squirt bottle and does this maneuver again, I'm going to lose it. So that happened a lot, and I don't know if it was age, I don't know if it's first baby, all of it's new, so you don't even know to ask, like, can you please stop? Like, I feel like I'm handling the delivery just fine. It's you rubbing that is really pushing it over the edge. Yeah, so you just don't think to ask that because you just assume they are going to do everything the best, right? Like, she's doing it for a reason. Obviously, there's a reason why there needs to be soapy water and all this action going on. So I don't even say anything. I just like silently bear it, which just makes me sick to think about now. But yeah, I remember just and so I say I had the spinal epidural, so I had all the numbingness for my contractions. But the way this epidural works is it's not like a continuous flow. They give you a dose, and then it comes back, and you have to get another dose to have the numbing again. But since I was pushing, they would have been too numb to push, so they didn't get it, which I'm actually really thankful for. And remember like having to go to another place during pushing to really find my strength to push him out. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah, so felt rushed. It was weird. I don't know. Maybe it was partly the prenatal experience with like our whole relationship is rushed. So maybe it was that. Maybe it was also the pushing style. So yeah, I'm not really sad about my personal labor experience with him. I'm actually sad when I think of his birth on his experience. So having the thing screwed in his head, not cool. Um, and then like when he was born, you know, they lay them on their chest like they're doing you like this huge favor. But I feel like all they do is they put them on your chest long enough for them to clamp and cut the cord, just so the baby's out of your way, and then they take the baby away. You know, after they clamp and cut the cord, they're like, okay, good, now let's go weigh him and go do all the vital stuff. Now, I'm aware they don't do this everywhere anymore. They're getting so much better about checking the baby on mom. And like, we don't need to know how much the baby weighs at 5 minutes old. We just don't. It doesn't matter if they're what they weigh at 5 freaking minutes. So, anyways, I have a picture of my son like laying on the cold hard scale at 5 minutes old, pale as a ghost because he had no delayed cord clamping. And I'm like, wow, I saw that picture and a light bulb went off. Like, his experiences at birth is why we need to do something different. Why we need to question everything, why you need to know your options, is because when I think of him at 5 minutes old on that cold hard weighing thing, and then think about like my home births where I'm like, at 5 minutes old, no one had touched me yet or my baby yet. They're snuggled up to me on my skin where they have been, and they're not crying. You know, of course the picture of him is like this, you know, freaking out, and they're not even crying, and they're just like in the water still with me, and it's great. Like, come on, like, we can't ignore the fact that a baby has just been in this warm, dark environment for forever, and then to take it away at 5 minutes old, you can't tell me that's not traumatizing and has lasting effects. But anyways, so that's where I'm sad about his birth story. But then, yeah, still looked at it as like my personal experience was fine. So when I went to have my next baby, 4 years later, I did a lot of reading. I read with both of them a lot. You know, I think the first time was more like fetal development. A little bit about labor, but really, really focused on labor with the second baby. And just knew, like, man, I just don't want the experience where I'm laying in bed and can't react with my labor. I want to work with it. It's such a powerful moment in life where it's just, you just don't get these type of, I don't even know how to explain it, like the mental openness that you do in labor. So I wanted to experience it. That's all I wanted. I wanted to be like, yeah, I know what a contraction feels like. Unlike first experience, I couldn't have babies and be like, I have no idea what a contraction felt like. I wanted to feel it all by feeling it, I felt more in control. So, so second baby, this is how it went. I started contraction. So I guess I should say prenatally, I saw the same OB and was planning to deliver at the same hospital. Prenatal care was the exact same. 5 minutes in and out. Didn't get to know her any better. Was no different. Just okay. So I got to, so labor, 39 weeks. Started with contractions at 6 p.m. and he was born by 9. He was born at 9, 3 hours. So, 3 hours, not. Yeah, born 3 hours later, so very fast labor. The contraction started at like 10 minutes apart during the dinner, and we're like, okay, so this could go on for hours. So why would we hurry and do anything? Where our house was and where the hospital was 30 minutes apart. So all my stuff that I needed, like my birth ball and my robe and my little tennis balls, all these things that I was going to need for my natural labor coping techniques that I had planned for so well, was all at home. So I was like, let's go back home and get my stuff because I can't birth without my stuff. But, there for a little while, we were like, I don't know, should we go? We would go, like, to a store. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, the amount of stuff I did in this 3-hour span of time that I was in labor is just insane. So, I went to a store and was like, having all kinds of fluids and things coming out. I'm like, I think I just need to leave this store. This is not working. So then I was in the car with contractions, which is not much better. Because I remember being like, okay, when I'm having contractions, saying, we need to go to the hospital now because things are happening. This is very intense. And then when the contraction's over, I'm like, no, everything's fine. Actually, we have time still. It's not that big of a deal. Because it is completely gone. And I was basically like a first-time mom. My poor husband's like, what's going on? Like whiplash. 1 minute, you're like really having a hard time. And then the next minute, you're like totally chill. So, yeah, it was interesting. Got home. Contractions are 2 minutes apart by the time we're at home. And I don't know why the thought of staying home was not even on my mind, but that would have been the best thing I could have done was stayed home, obviously. But we left and went back to the hospital anyway, and I mean, water broke on the way. I'm having this serious urge to push. I mean, it feels like a bowel movement is what it feels like. But like I said, anybody who's had a baby before naturally would know that. But I was like a first-time mom, so I'm like asking the front desk lady, like, where's the nearest bathroom? So it was, the word she pointed was like way down some hall. I would have never made it. And so I was like, oh no, that's okay. I'll just wait for them to open the door. And then they like never opened the door. So I'm like banging on it. I'm kind of a little bit of a crazy person at this moment, but anybody who has a baby that's like about to come out, you know what I'm talking about. So I actually really feel like the only reason I didn't have my baby at home or in the car, probably not at home, I was still kind of in transition at home, but in the car I was like ready to push. But adrenaline is so powerful, and I was like, no, I do not feel like I should have my baby here, like let's get to the hospital, this is where I'm supposed to be, and trying to be the good patient. And then got there and all that went out the window. I was no longer interested in being the good patient anymore. I walked in, ripped the clothes I had on off, and sat on my bed in like maybe just a shirt. She was like, you can't wear that, you have to put on your hospital gown. Like, because I couldn't get the epidural in that shirt. And I'm like, I'm not getting an epidural, I'm having a baby right now. And they're like, what? No, you're not. And so sure enough, I'm like pushing as I sat on the bed, and they're like, what? You can't do that. This is not, you have to do these things first. So they're like, call the emergency room doctor, get a table in here, give her an IV, take her blood pressure, make her sign the thing for a C-section, So literally, I probably was pushing for 5 minutes, but in 5 minutes, my very efficient nurse was able to get blood pressure, an IV, and I was able to sign 2 papers. So that was great. The emergency room doctor comes in as my baby's head is coming out and is like, and I'm touching my baby's head, and he says, don't touch yourself, you'll give yourself an infection. And I'm like, okay, so I don't. And my husband's across the room on the phone with my mom telling him I'm pushing the baby out. And he looks over and is like, whoa, there's a baby coming out. And what's going on? Like, who's going to catch the baby? Because like, apparently with the doctor, he had to get his like spacesuit on before he can catch the baby because of infection. So, yeah, he was born, and in that lovely, stressful environment. Poor baby. And was same as the first, put on my chest just long enough to cut and clamp the cord and be taken away over to the warmer and to be weighed. So I was actually just me and my husband here at this time, so he's over with the baby and I'm over there by myself, like, great, what's going on? Like, where's my baby? I was just at dinner a few hours ago, now I have a baby, but where is he? It was a mess. So, of course, they give him back to me, and they're all wrapped up and clean and with his hat, and I'm like, great, who is this baby? So it's the connection that I feel like was lost. Same with the first, like, when you had this interrupted first hour, especially for stupid things like weighing the baby and listening to their heart rate from a warmer when you could do that just as easily on a mom. It's a problem. So, yeah. The bright lights, the baby experience, my experience in the second one was poor in that it was just a lot of like my fault that I did it this way is how the staff made me feel.